everyone, this is Shannie McCabe from Baker Creek, and today I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of what you need to do when your live plants arrive. So Baker Creek has a live plant shipping program. Every spring we make available these sweet little plants that are propagated via tissue culture, and these are some things that aren't as easily grown from seed, but we still wanted to make sure and offer them to you. So instead of sending you a packet of seeds, we send you actual plants. So our plants are propagated via tissue culture. You can find out more about tissue culture, just look it up online, but essentially it's a form of micro propagation where we take a mother plant and we take small bits of it and we clonally propagate it. It's a pretty fascinating process. I suggest you look it up. One thing that's going to be really important before you order your plants is to think about and mark on your calendar your last expected frost date. You can find this easily online. Just type in your zip code and type in last frost date, or you may have a farmer's almanac, or you may ask a county extension agent. However you figure out that last frost date for your region, because you're going to want your plants to arrive after that frost date. If for some reason they come a little bit before your last frost date, or you get some freakish cold weather late in the season, you're going to want to nurse your plants along by bringing them indoors and protecting them. For example, in the past you've maybe ordered raspberry crowns and they come in the mail as a dormant piece of plant material, but in tissue culture it's actually going to come as a viable, actively growing plant. So even if you're ordering things like blackberries and raspberries, be sure to baby them and don't let them get below 50 degrees because they're going to experience chill shock. Even if it's a plant that can usually take cold, we're going to shelter our babies from the cold, and we're going to make sure that we have a greenhouse ready, or we're just ready to bring them indoors for a little while. Whatever you have to do, we're going to really make sure to protect them from cold. Now, if you're like me and you're somewhere where it's nice and warm and the soil has already warmed, and the temperature is really amenable to planting directly outside, when you get something like a sweet potato or a longevity spinach, you can plant that directly in the garden as long as you have some irrigation equipment ready, or you're ready to water it very frequently. And you could get these tender little starts maybe hardened off for a few days and then planted directly in the ground. But for pretty much everything else, you're going to want to nurse them along when they first arrive. They're going to come in a little plastic bag, and sometimes, just because of the stress of shipping, sometimes they'll be a little bit yellowed, they'll have a funky little leaf. You can pull that leaf off, or you can let it stay, but usually if there's a little bit of damage, this is kind of a lot because it's the last remaining leaf, but if you have a little bit of damage, your plant should bounce back just fine. So the very first thing that I do when my plants come in is water them. But what's important is do not water the leaves. So don't water the foliage when your plants arrive. You're going to want to water this root zone. So dipping them in a glass or tray of water just to let that root zone soak up, that's perfect. We want to make sure that the roots are well watered, but we're not getting rottage on the foliage. So keep that foliage dry and keep the bottom of the plant wet. So first things first, get your plants in water. Secondly, you're going to want to pot your plants up. Just about everything that will come in the mail is going to want to be potted up at least for a while and then hardened off before it goes out into the garden. A major mistake that I often see is folks will take this plant, it comes in the mail, and then they'll put it right in the garden, and it can become sunburned this way, it could become cold or windburned. There's a lot that can happen. This is a very tender little plant. So what I like to do is baby it along by putting it in sort of a nursery situation temporarily until the plant has really gotten sturdy. So what I'll do is just a small, like a 4-inch pot is great. You may have something like this, or you might have something like this. This is a great size to get your tissue culture plants started off with. I do recommend that before your plants arrive, just get yourself some pots. You might use peat pots if you're averse to plastic, but get yourself a bag of soil and some pots so that you're really ready. Also, I recommend that set your date before your plants arrive to know that you have pots, to know that you have soil, and to know that you have your irrigation setup ready, because they're going to dry out quickly. These are small plants. So, for instance, I get a banana, it comes in the mail. I'm going to pot it up in a 4-inch pot like this. I'm just going to settle it in, and I'm going to keep it well watered. Again, I'm keeping the foliage dry, but I'm going to water that I'm going to water that soil in and keep it nicely watered. And what's really important, especially for things like bananas, turmeric, and ginger, those are going to require, always going to require some light shade, but even the plants that like full sun, when they first arrive, they're going to get sunburned if you put them out in the strong sun. So what I recommend is to put them under a shade tree, put them up against your house, anywhere that's going to give them some indirect sunlight, some dappled shade, something to protect them. So the hardening off process with these is very, very important. And then we put them somewhere sheltered, under a shade sail, under a shade tree, against a building, anywhere where they're going to get some partial sun. And we're going to let them grow out really until their roots start to fill in and the plant becomes more sturdy. At that point, it's time to put them out into the garden and they're going to flourish. Certain things can go directly into your garden as long as you give them a good hardening off. And that would be something like your sweet potatoes and your longevity spinach or your Okinawan spinach. Other things are going to want to be babied. I've got a pomegranate here. That's a very sensitive little plant. So first it's going in a 4-inch pot, then we're going to step it up into a bigger pot. All right, so that's it. It's that simple. I hope you guys have a great time growing our live plants. Check out the selection on rareseeds.com if you haven't already. And happy gardening. Take care. Thanks so much for watching this video. We sure love making them for you. So be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss one.